Chapter 1. Tir Luro sits at the helm of his YV-929 freighter, Solace. His large amber eyes are transfixed at the swirl of hyperspace. The chestnut-colored fur on the back of his neck stands up as the triangular ears on the top of his head twitch. Morning, Nira. Dr. Nira Kess shuffles in, rubbing sleep from her eyes. It's unsettling when you do that. Tir smirks. What, smell you coming? Nira drops in her worn chair, waking consoles. And stop saying I smell. Everything has a scent. It's not always bad. He checks the navigcomputer. She rolls her eyes, smiling. Nira's in her late 40s. The console light softens the hard-earned lines in her face. Her dark hair is pulled up high. How far out are we? Minutes. I kept us in hyperspace a bit longer. You humans like your sleep. Playing all your hits this morning, Nira flips switches in a sequence. A small hollow projection of the planet Eclipa manifests. Humans stink, have bad eyesight, eat too much, and waste a quarter of our lives sleeping. How aren't Iluros running the galaxy then? Tir just smiles. You two need a new routine. Kira Holt enters with 2 steaming cups of caf. Tir nods at the cups. Enough of that, and you might catch up to my efficiency, he jokes. Nira takes a cup. Even with caf, 14 days awake can kill a human. Tir considers this. Sounds like a design flaw. Darren Holt steps in next. None for me? Kira eyes him. Tir cuts off the oncoming argument. Dropping out now. The ship jolts. Kira and Darren stumble. I hate it when you do that, Darren grins. Playing all my hits, Tir echoes. Eclipa fills their viewport. Nira zooms with the hollow. A colony is poised on top of a mountain. That's it. Maybe Biff wasn't lying. Darren shakes his head. I still don't trust that guy. He sells info for credits, Tir says, his eyes on the controls. He's reliable enough, until he isn't. Nira checks the data readouts on her console. Atmosphere is breathable. She pauses, leaning closer to her readouts. It's odd, there's an extra element, barely detectable. It's like a pollen maybe, but unregistered. Kira leans in. Something to worry about? Do we need the rebreathers? Nira hesitates, scanning again. No known pathogens, no toxins. Computer says we're clear. Rebreathers wouldn't last enough for the Veistite extraction anyway, Tir says. If you're gonna stay on the ship, you gotta say so now. Darren and Kira trade a rare, calm look. I'm in, Kira says. Same, Nira adds. Yeah, let's get paid, Darren grins. Tir smiles a toothy smile. Then let's get to work. Chapter 2. The speeder, loaded with mining supplies, moves its way up a series of switchbacks. The mountains are covered in multicolored trees and odd plants that look like cacti but are taller than the trees, sporting bright yellow colors. By the last rise that leads to the colony, the crew's panting for air. Through the gates, they find a small town, not what you would think of with a miner's camp. Prefab homes in mirrored rows, with a central building at the end. It's beautiful, Nira comments, almost too perfect. Except there's no life, Darren adds. Why was this abandoned? Tir cuts the speeder's engine. His ears twitch and he sniffs the air. No sign of animals. Kira looks around. This place is all wrong. Let's get the rig up and running, Tir says, getting the crew back on track. They show their agreement by walking on. Nira consults her datapad. Path down to the mine should be just beyond that central building. They check out the houses as they move down the street. Nothing is out of place. It would feel totally natural for a door to open and a family to come out into the beautiful sunny day. Near the town hall, they see a figure sitting on a bench. It looks casual except the head is slumped forward. Tir clears his throat. Excuse me, he says in a friendly voice. He touches the figure on the shoulder and it slumps onto its side. The clothes are baggy over the gaunt remains. Nira rushes over to inspect the body. She consults the scanner on her datapad. No signs of trauma, no wounds. The scanner detects no poisons or toxins. By the rate of decay, they've been dead for a long while. Nira looks up from the corpse. You'd think with a person dying outdoors like this that rodents or birds would have scavenged it. Kira covers her mouth at this. He must have been left behind. Missed the last transport, she says, trying to make sense of things. Let's get the equipment running, Darren speaks up. I'll head back up here and give him a proper burial later. Tir nods. That settles the matter. They walk away, Kira looking over her shoulder at the long, dead man. The crew falls into their respective roles without speaking. Darren stages the gear, Kira wires it. Tir fits the tools, Nira runs redundant scans for safety. By the time they're done, dusk is upon them. Their labored breathing comes out in puffs as the temperature drops. The rig hums to life, providing merciful noise in the silence. Tir breathes a sigh of relief and sits near the engine to steal some of its heat. You three get some sleep. I'll take the first shift. Kira and Nira unroll thin mats, lie down, but sleep doesn't come. They're cold, hungry, and exhausted. They lie still, willing sleep to take them, without answer. Darren grabs a shovel and heads back up the path for the man on the bench. It's full dark when he makes it back to the body. His flashlight beam finds the man, but he's no longer slumped over. He's sitting upright. The head slowly turns and faces Darren, staring with empty eye sockets. Darren starts and he drops his flashlight. He scrambles for it and puts the light back on the bench as quickly as possible. The body's back on its side, slumped over, just as it was when they left it before. He starts digging in the soft dirt nearby, keeping one eye on the body. Tir pores over technical readouts in the early morning light. Nira gets to her feet behind him. I can't keep pretending that I'm going to be able to sleep. Tir looks at his tired friend. None at all? She shakes her head. I thought I was dreaming a couple times. I saw people moving down the path, but I was never actually out, so I don't know what I saw. The two look to the empty path. Nira breaks the silence. Well, how's the rig doing? There is Veistite here. The machine's already extracting some, Tir answers. Well, at least that's some good news, Kira says from behind them. I couldn't sleep either. Darren never came back, and I've been worried. They all understood that wasn't the reason for the lack of sleep, but no one said otherwise. Tir stands. You two take over. I'll go find him. When he reaches town, he finds a fresh burial mound. He looks down the neighborhood street and sees the doors to all the houses are open. He goes house to house looking for his crewmate. Every single house is identical on the inside, right down to the furniture. After checking a dozen or so houses, he spots Darren. The man is leaving one of the houses with a giant bundle slung over his shoulder. Hey, check it out. Darren's a bit too chipper for the dark circles under his eyes. He beckons for Tir to follow. Tir follows Darren into another one of the houses. Darren has spent the night pillaging the houses and stockpiling all of the supplies into this one. I couldn't sleep, so I thought I'd gather some supplies. Blankets, clothes, even some well-preserved food. Way better than our rations. You didn't sleep either, Tir says. It's not a question. Darren shrugs. Let's get back to the rig. I want Nira to take a look at you. Tir uses a hand to gently guide Darren. Darren jerks away. I'm fine. There's a tense beat before he softens. Sorry, I'm just tired. He drops the bundle and they head out. As they walk back to the rig, Darren speaks up again. Keep this between us. I don't want to freak anyone out. I kept seeing things last night. People moving. People that weren't there. First, the guy on the bench. Then others. In the houses, watching me from the windows. Tir thinks it over. Darren shakes his head. You must think I'm crazy. If you were the only one, maybe. But Nira saw something too. Back at the rig, Kira and Nira are packing the first clear samples of the Veistite into containers. That raises everyone's spirits. Tir cuts in. Darren, tell them what you told me. Darren looks at Tir with fury. I told you not to mention it in front of Kira, Tir insists. They all talk. Darren gives details on the figures that he saw. Then it's Nira's turn. It takes effort for them to form the sentences as they go on. When quiet starts to crawl in, someone fills the void with another wild theory. We have two options, Tir says plainly when the previous conversation has run its course. The first one is, we stick to the plan, ride out the weirdness, and get paid. He sighs. The second option, pack it in now, cut our losses, and hope that there's another job somewhere else before too long. Tir paces. It has to be unanimous, either way. You are all hired as my crew, but over the last year, I think of you all as family. Solace is running on fumes, but I'll go with what all of you think. Tir's heartfelt confession hangs heavy in the air. Darren looks at the Veistite. The found family notion comforts him. Then his mind flashes back to seeing the corpse of the man stare at him with eyes that weren't there. Kira's shaky voice comes from behind them. I think of you all as family too. Her eyes linger on Darren. I know we need the credits. Let's just get it done. It has to be unanimous, Tir reminds all of them. He looks at his new family, the weight of their decision pressing down on the small group. The hum of the mining rig serves as a constant reminder of their purpose. Nira checks over her datapad again. My gut says to run, but the data says that we're just tired. The Solace needs this. I need this. It's the only place I've felt comfortable since before the war. I vote we stay. Darren stands. Then I'm in too. And I have a plan. We can stay in the house that I filled with the supplies. We'll feel safer indoors. There's beds, blankets, food, even clean clothes. The rest murmur their agreement. Tir puts a hand on Darren's shoulder. I'll stay with the equipment. I want the rest of you up at that house to get some sleep. You all just came through for me in a big way. I want to do this as a thank you. Besides, he forces a grin. I don't need the rest as much as you flawed humans. They give a weak laugh at Tir's overused joke and head for the shelter. They feel better, safer. Darren was right about the shelter and the soft blankets. It'll help a lot. After a while of tossing and turning, he knows sleep won't come, and Darren's drawn back to the deserted town. Anything to distract him from the gnawing unease. He moves through the identical homes with a practiced efficiency. Near the farthest end of the town, there's one house that breaks the pattern. The curtains are drawn and the manual release for the door is jammed. He breaks a window, the glass shattering rings out into the silent night air. Upon entering, he falls onto something unfamiliar. When he gets his light up, he freezes. Lined wall to wall, shrouded in white sheets, are bodies. He cautiously gets to his feet, not wanting to tread on any of them. His heart is hammering against his ribs. His hand trembles as he reaches for the corner of the closest sheet and pulls it back. The gaunt, undisturbed face of a Twi'lek stares back at him. He checks the rest of the house, finding nearly 30 corpses, not all of them adults. At that realization, he runs outside and gets sick. Kira tosses and turns in her luxurious bed. She's comfortable and warm, but sleep won't come. She hears the unmistakable sound of glass shattering. She rushes to her bedroom window and sees the other houses cast in cool blue light from the moon. A familiar figure runs down the street. It's her daughter, just as she looked before the sickness took her. Kira gasps, a sob catching at her throat. She bolts out the door without getting dressed. "Lily!" she cries into the cold night air. Lily turns off and runs into the woods behind the houses. Kira chases. Nira's staring up at the blank ceiling of her room. Visions of the siege of Inuyusu play out vividly. She sits up and shakes her head, trying to push back the memory of the young men and women she was unable to help in that bloody encounter. She hugs her knees and whispers, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." She hears glass shattering and looks to her window. Standing just on the other side is a rebel pilot with scorch marks down the entire right side of his body. She scrambles off the bed and falls onto the cold floor. She hears the door across the hall slam open and light footballs run out of the house. When she looks back to her window, the dead rebel is gone and Kira's running down the street calling out for someone. Nira suits back up and heads into the cold night air. Tir keeps vigil at the rig. He busies himself doing math on Veistite counts that won't matter at all if they die here. The hum of the rig provides some comfort as another dawn approaches. His ears twitch. He hears a voice he hasn't heard in decades. "Shiren, are you there?" His mother's voice. She was the only one who called him Shiren. He stands and puts all his attention into his hearing. There is no voice, but he hears glass shattering. Forgetting the rig, he sprints to town. Tir runs until he sees Darren and Kira sitting on the steps to one of the houses. Darren's skin is pale and clammy. The circles under his eyes are dark. Kira's flush. She's been crying. Her skin's scratched and cut up. "Are you two okay?" Tir crouches in front of his friends. Darren blinks, like he's only now seeing Tir. "Yeah, just shaken." He jerks a thumb back. "Bodies. A lot of them." Tears start to form down his face. He shakes his head and buries his face in his hands. Tir gently grabs Kira's chin and examines her cuts. "I'm okay," she answers, not pulling away. She doesn't offer more, and Tir doesn't need it. Tir sees Nira through the house's open door. He enters cautiously. Even with Darren's warning, it's a shocking sight. Nira's going from body to body, scanning them into her datapad. "You okay, Nira?" he calls. He startles her. "Tir, who's down at the mine? Forget the criffing mine. What is this?" She meets him in the hall. They embrace in a long, comforting hug. The group reconvenes outside. Nira gives her report. The bodies are all the same. No signs of trauma, violence, poisons, or toxins. It doesn't appear that any of them starved or were dehydrated. They all just stopped. "We're leaving," Tir states. "We're going to get the speeder and ride it back to the Solace. Forget the gear. We need to be off this cursed planet now." No one argues. They help each other down to the speeder, leaving all of their supplies and personal effects where they lie. They start mounting into the speeder. Darren pulls the plug out of the generator, and the sound that once brought them comfort dies. The only extra thing that's taken is the Veistite they already packaged. Within the hour, the Solace lifts off. They break Atmo, and Tir has the Navicomputer calculate a jump to the nearest Republic hospital. The swirling vortex of hyperspace, usually a monotonous backdrop, feels like a cleansing river, washing away the uneasiness of Eclipa. They're free. Or so they thought. Chapter 3. Aboard Solace, everyone assumes normal will snap back. Everyone wants sleep, even Tir. Kira and Darren retreat to the same bunk, putting past wounds behind them. I don't want to be alone," Nira looks into Tir's eyes. He says nothing, just opens the door to his chambers and allows her to enter. They collapse into his bunk, leaning on each other for comfort. They close their eyes, expecting sleep to come and help put the whole ordeal behind them. A child's laugh sings out. Kira's eyes snap open. "Did you hear that?" Darren's still fully awake. "No, what was it?" Kira's mouth works once. "Lily." Tears come. Darren gathers her in a long hug. Over her shoulder, the benchman sits in the cabin chair. Darren gets Kira up and they stumble into the hall. Tir hears them moving. He gets up out of bed. The door hisses open. Darren and Kira pinball off the bulkheads toward him, hollow-eyed. "It followed us," Kira rasps through sobs. Nira screams from Tir's room right behind them. Her 3 crewmates turn their attention to her. From her perspective, the 3 crewmates are 3 dead rebel pilots closing in on her. One approaches, reaching a hand out. Nira's convinced that that hand will strangle her. She kicks the dead pilot hard in the chest with a scream. The hallucination fades, and Tir is leaning in the doorway, rubbing where she kicked him. "Tir, I'm so sorry." After they calm each other down, they sit around the ship's mess table. Nira, despite her own exhaustion, analyzes their symptoms. The ship has far better equipment than her datapad. The persistent sleeplessness, the vivid personal hallucinations, the growing paranoia. It's not just fatigue. There's something else, something biological. She scans them, cross-references data, and scans them again. She can feel the solution to the problem right in front of her, but her sleep-deprived brain can't get into gear to work it out properly. Her eyes keep closing and she starts back to the world without ever having actually fallen asleep. Every time she cycles like this, the phantoms are closer. She's about to give up when a chilling realization hits her. That barely detectable, unregistered element that we picked up on approach. It's not a pathogen or a poison or any kind of pollen. It has to be a spore. She indicates a slight blur on Kira's brain scans, a microscopic organism that attaches itself to the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the hypothalamus. We must have inhaled them. She flips to the same scan of Tir's brain, and the blur is there too. If you didn't know what to look out for, it wouldn't show up as anything more than this blur. This is the part of the brain that regulates most beings' sleep-wake cycle. It's not killing us, not directly, but it is systematically dismantling our ability to rest, which is slowly driving us mad and can lead to major body mechanics shutting down. That's why those poor miners all died with no obvious symptoms, Tir adds, his brain catching on first. "You said it was just like they stopped, and it's because they did." Kira pleads, "Can you fix us?" "No, not with what I have here," Nira says regretfully. Her discovery gives her a little pep of energy and some clarity. "I can try to rig a cortical pacer that will give us a jolt and keep us going, but that's not a long-term solution. We need to save it for when we're on the brink, and we can't trust ourselves to know when it's time. Strap yourselves into the crash seats. We can't be running around doing who knows what, losing our minds," Tir commands. Nira's fast at work on the cortical pacers. Kira and Darren move to their seats. They strap themselves in and hold hands. Nira is the last to enter and hands Tir 4 devices. "One for each of us. Don't double up on someone. I don't know how the body will react to too much." All strapped in, they lean on each other for moral support. They keep the madness from taking them by sharing stories, ones that they've experienced together, ones from their past, and ideas for a future, all of them included. Darren and Kira talk openly about Lily for the first time in a year. Nira confides in this new family about her experiences during the Galactic Civil War. Tir shares memories of his mother. These are the only 3 beings in the galaxy who he confides in. By the time they arrive above New Holstis, they haven't had to use a single cortical pacer. Republic Medroids and surgeons use Nira's scans. They pull the spore samples, they work on countermeasures, and dose the whole crew. The crew's vitals stabilize, and their minds stop buzzing. When the rapid-fire medical procedures are done, they ask for 1 room and 4 beds. There's nothing left to say. They can feel, for real now, the quiet pull towards sleep. Kira goes first, a calm line at her mouth. Darren follows, watching her breathe. Nira fades into sleep as she checks over her own vitals. Tir studies his family one by one as he closes his large amber eyes. As sleep finally finds him, his ears twitch. "Shirin, are you there?" This short story was born out of a challenge put down by the Force of Others podcast. It's something they started, I believe, last year, where they each wrote a Halloween-themed short Star Wars story, and they asked if I wanted to participate. I didn't have a ton of warning, so the script probably could have used another pass or 2, but it was really cool to be under a deadline and to come up with a clever story that fit in the Star Wars universe. When I agreed to it, I had 0 ideas, and now I have a dozen ideas, so that's a great thing, and expect more of these going down the line, assuming people like it. Along with doing another couple passes on the script, I had to really pare it down to try to get to their time frame, and I'm recording this before I do the final edit, so my guess is I still went way over. Let me know if you'd like to see more things in this vein going forward, and don't worry, the lore's never going anywhere. Speaking of which, check out this video next to dive back into Star Wars lore.